Once upon a time, in a small village called Jide, there lived a bright and happy young girl named Amina. Amina loved running through the fields, helping her mother at the market, and listening to the elders tell stories by the fire. Everyone in the village knew her as the girl with the sweetest smile. Amina lived with her mother and her grandfather, Baba Musa. Her mother was a trader who sold fruits at the market. Every day, she would wake up very early around 3 a.m. in the morning and set off to the marketplace to sell. Amina, as a young child, spent most of her early days with her grandfather, Baba Musa, as her mother seemed so busy to be around and take care of her. Baba Musa was old but strong, and the villagers respected him because he was wise. He often sat under the big mango tree telling stories of bravery and honor. Amina loved her grandfather and they spent a lot of time together. One day, something strange started happening. Amina, who was always full of life, became quiet. She no longer played in the fields or laughed with her friends. She stayed in her room, hiding away from everyone. Her mother was worried but didn't know what was wrong. Months passed and people noticed that Amina's belly was getting bigger. The women whispered among themselves, wondering what had happened. How could such a young girl be carrying a baby? They asked. No one knew, and Amina refused to speak. But there was a secret buried deep in Amina's heart, and she was too afraid to tell anyone. The truth was, Baba Musa, her beloved grandfather, was the one who made her pregnant. Amina didn't understand what had happened at first, but she knew it wasn't right. She felt confused, scared, and ashamed. Her grandfather, who was supposed to protect her, had done something terrible, but she didn't know how to tell her mother or the villagers. Why would her grandfather do such a thing? Amina kept asking herself this question. Baba Musa always spoke of respect and honor, yet he betrayed her trust. She wondered if she had done something wrong, if she had committed some crime to deserve this. But deep down, Amina knew she had done nothing wrong. She was just a young girl, and what happened was not her fault. As the days passed, Amina grew more frightened. She didn't know what would happen to her or the baby growing inside her. Would the villagers find out the truth? What would they think of her, and what would become of the baby? The village elders began asking questions. They wanted to know who was responsible for Amina's pregnancy, but no one could have guessed it was Baba Musa. Amina's silence made them even more curious, and they felt something was terribly wrong. Amina's mother, heartbroken and confused, tried to comfort her daughter, but Amina still wouldn't speak. She was afraid of what might happen if the truth came out. What would become of Amina and the baby? Would she ever find the courage to reveal her secret? And if she did, how would the village react to such a betrayal? Amina's days grew longer, and she felt more alone with each passing moment. The weight of the secret she carried was heavy on her heart, but she didn't know how to let it go. She would sit by the river near her village, watching the water flow gently, wishing her problems could drift away like the leaves that floated on the surface. One afternoon, Amina's best friend, Zuri, came to visit her. Zuri had always been a cheerful girl, full of laughter and energy. But even she noticed that something was different about Amina. Amina, you have stopped smiling, Zuri said softly. sitting beside her. What happened? Why don't you play with us anymore? We miss you. Amina looked at her friend, her eyes filled with sadness. She wanted to tell Zuri everything, but was afraid. What if Zuri didn't believe her? What if she thought it was Amina's fault? I can't talk about it, Zuri, Amina whispered. It's too hard. You wouldn't understand. Zuri gently took Amina's hand. We have been friends since we were little. You can trust me. No matter what it is, I will be by your side. Amina felt a tear roll down her cheek. She had kept her secret hidden for so long, and the pain was too much to bear. But still, the fear of telling anyone kept her silent. Meanwhile, in the village, Amina's mother, Mama Sade, was getting more worried. She knew something was terribly wrong, but couldn't figure out what. One evening, as the sun was setting, Mama Sade decided to speak to the village healer, Mama Binta. She hoped that the old woman, known for her wisdom, could help her understand what was happening with her daughter. When Mama Sade arrived at Mama Binta's hut, she explained how Amina had changed and how her belly had grown, even though she was just a young girl. Something has happened to Amina, but she won't tell me. I don't know how to help her, Mama Sade said, her voice shaking. Mama Binta closed her eyes and listened carefully. After a long pause, she spoke. Sometimes children carry heavy secrets that they are afraid to share. But no matter what, we must show them love and patience. Only then will they find the courage to speak. Mama Sade nodded, realizing she needed to be more gentle with Amina. She returned home that evening, determined to support her daughter no matter what. Back at the river, Amina looked up the sky, feeling a mix of emotions. Zuri was still sitting beside her, waiting patiently. Amina, Zuri said after a long silence, I don't know what you are going through, but I promise you this, that you are not alone. Whatever has happened is not your fault. You don't have to carry this by yourself. Amina looked at her friend and felt a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could tell Zuri the truth. But before she could say anything, the sound of footsteps behind them made Amina jump. It was Baba Musa. He stood there with a stern look on his face, his eyes locking with Amina's. What are you two doing here? He asked in a deep voice. Amina froze, fear gripping her heart once more. She wanted to run, to hide, but she couldn't move. Zuri noticed the change in Amina's expression and sensed that something wasn't right. We were just talking, Zuri replied quickly, trying to ease the tension. Baba Musa narrowed his eyes, but after a moment, he turned and walked away without saying another word. As soon as he was gone, Amina breathed a sigh of relief. Zuri leaned closer to Amina and whispered, It's him, isn't it? He's the one who hurt you. Amina's eyes filled with tears again, and she slowly nodded. For the first time, she felt a weight lift off her chest. She had shared her secret, and now Zuri knew the truth. But what would happen next? What would become of Amina, her unborn child, and her future? Amina felt a strange mix of emotions after finally nodding to Zuri. She was relieved that someone knew her secret, but also terrified. What if Baba Musa found out she had told Zuri? What if the whole village found out? But Zuri held her hand tightly and whispered, You have been so brave, Amina. I will help you. The next morning, Zuri went straight to her mother. Mama Chika. Mama Chika was one of the most respected women in the village, known for her fairness and strength. She listened carefully as Zuri explained what Amina had told her by the river. When she heard the terrible truth, Mama Chika's face grew dark with anger. She couldn't believe that Baba Musa, the wise elder everyone respected, had done something so wrong. This cannot be hidden, Mama Chika said firmly. The village must know the truth. Zuri was afraid for Amina, but trusted her mother's wisdom. Mama Chika told Zuri to go and bring Amina to her house, and she promised that Amina would be safe. When Amina arrived, trembling and unsure, Mama Chika gave her a warm hug. "You are not alone, my dear. We will make sure justice is done," she said softly, reassuring Amina. That evening, Mama Chika called for a village meeting under the great Odum tree. All the villagers gathered, wondering why they had been called so suddenly. Baba Musa, not knowing what was about to happen, also came, sitting proudly in his usual spot. Mama Chika stood up and addressed the crowd. "My people," she began, "today we must discuss something important. A wrong has been done to one of our daughters, and it is time we seek the truth." The villagers murmured, confused. What was she talking about? Mama Chika then motioned for Amina to come forward. Amina was nervous, but with Zuri by her side, she found the strength to walk up the front. Her heart pounded as she looked at the crowd, her eyes catching her mother's worried face. Mama Sade had no idea what was happening, but she knew this moment was important. "Amina, tell us what you have been carrying in your heart," Mama Chika said gently. Amina took a deep breath and finally spoke, her voice shaking. "It was Baba Musa. He is the one who made me pregnant." The villagers gasped in shock. How could Baba Musa, the elder they trusted, have done such a thing? All eyes turned to Baba Musa, who suddenly looked pale and nervous. His hands shook as he tried to find words, but none came. Amina continued, her voice stronger now. "This was how I got pregnant," she explained. "One day, when my mother left off to work in the morning, I was left in the care of my grandfather as always. Around 5 a.m. in the morning, as I lay down, Baba Musa rushed on me and started to take off my clothes. He told me he would kill me if I shouted. After he slept with me, he warned me not to tell anyone, otherwise he would kill me." The silence that followed was heavy. Baba Musa's secret was out, and the villagers couldn't believe it. One by one, they began to speak up, angry and disappointed. "How could you betray your own granddaughter?" one elder asked. "You were supposed to protect her," another woman shouted. Baba Musa, his head hanging low, felt shame wash over him. He had no words to defend himself. The village, once full of respect for him, now saw him for what he had done. Mama Chika stepped forward again. "Amina is brave for telling the truth, and we must protect her and her baby. No one should suffer in silence, especially not a child. Baba Musa must answer for what he has done." The village elders agreed. Baba Musa, filled with disgrace, was stripped of his role as a respected elder. He would no longer have a place of honor in the village. The once proud man now stood alone, broken and ashamed. As Baba Musa was led away, the villagers turned their attention to Amina. Mama Sade rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "I am so sorry, my child. I should have known something was wrong. I was wrong for leaving home and not paying attention to your emotional and physical needs as a mother. I have failed you, my child. Please forgive me." Amina smiled for the first time in a long while. "It's okay, Mama," she said, feeling the love and support of her mother, her friends Yuri, and the entire village. She wasn't alone anymore. The sun began to set over the village of Jide, casting a golden glow on the people gathered under the Odum tree. As Amina stood there, she felt lighter, free from the secret that had weighed her down for so long. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Amina felt hope. She knew her baby would be loved by many, and she would be surrounded by people who cared for her. And as she looked up the sky, a smile spread across her face, knowing that she had found her voice and that the truth had finally set her free.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.